jealous that he is still playing at a high level at 45 when you had to stop at 35.
Skip, that's what you do.
That's the point.
That's what you do. Every time I call something into question, I'm jealous.
No,
Skip, I did what I did.
I never said you were jealous of Baker Mayfield.
Skip, I did what I did. You make it seem like I was a bum. I'm in the Epic Hall of Fame.
Okay,
I got 3 Super Bowls.
So what?
So what?
He's way better than you were.
I'm better than you.
Better.
Skip, what I got to see what you do? You take personal shots.
No, I don't take personal shots. You started it.
Time out. You would take a personal shot at me.
I didn't take a personal shot at you.
Wait a minute.
What are you talking about?
You would take a personal.
Put your glasses back on.
Can I finish? You're willing to take a personal shot at me to say this man is better than me because I say he's playing bad this year?
Well, because you just you disrespect him. It's just so. You know what? It's beneath your dignity.
You would disrespect me to support him. You and your damn child.
Listen, this is Sports Bucks Steve. And I shared that video of Shannon and Skip Bayless sort of going at it in a previous show to kind of talk about the news that is broke. I shared it on my radio show. Please check out Sports Bucks with Steve radio show. Airs every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Out in Los Angeles in the Southern California area, and it's also on all of your podcast platforms. Sports Bucks with Steve. We started the show sort of similarly, where we talked about this particular incident that took place with Skip and Shannon. For those of you who are not aware, Shannon is leaving FS1, Fox Sports. He's leaving FS1, and he is going we don't know where. There's been some interaction, some additional tweets about, we've heard that allegedly that Shannon has talked about, can't believe that Fox chose Skip over him and Jenny Taft, who had an issue with Skip at one point on one of the shows on Undisputed. And so what we're now seeing is that Shannon Sharpe is leaving the building, so there has been a sharp turn of events. So I'm the retirement wealth coach, Mr. Steve Crawford, specialized in financial planning, income planning in particular, tax-free income planning, preferably. So we can help you if you're listening to the show. If you're in the continental United States, we can definitely help you with that. I am a certified financial fiduciary. That's what the CFF stands for. I have an MBA, which is a Master's of Business Administration. And I got a trademark as a retirement wealth coach. So I can definitely help you. So if you want to reach out to us, 1-800-306-5086, 1-800-306-5086. So check us out online at figwealthpartners.com, and we can help you out and make some dreams a reality and secure your retirement planning. But I've been called Coach Steve, obviously, because I'm a wealth coach. I help you call the right plays to help you have a successful retirement. And one of those things you guys can see in the background is life insurance. But I also can call permanent life insurance, which builds cash value, builds equity that you can use. And there's some tax-free benefits, tax-preferred benefits for using it the right way, which I can show you how, and even get tax deductions if you own a company and you have a key executive you can't do without. And that's a way of kind of having them stay there, and you can overfund them. You can overfund the policies beyond the traditional 401ks that are about $26,500, I believe, if you're over 50 years old. We can do a lot more than that if you want to fund out some what we call non-qualified plans that you can use life insurance as one of the vehicles. But I say call the right play because apparently calling the right play is something that Shannon Sharpe feels he's called. He's out. He's out of the building. He's leaving Skip Bayless behind after the NBA Finals, which is taking place later on this evening between the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. We'll see if Butler did it again, or if the young man Caleb can continue to keep delivering, because he arguably was the Eastern Conference Finals, should have been the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Not bad that Butler got it, but we'll see what happens. Shannon Sharpe, we know if the finals is over, June sometime this month, obviously it could be over with. The Nuggets are heavy favorites. We'll see if that goes 4, 5, 6, or even 7 games, with the Denver Nuggets being the likely winner. but I would not be surprised if the Heat won because Butler's on a mission. But Shannon's on a mission to get away from Skip Bayless, and you just saw one of the reasons potentially why he's leaving. Another one of the issues that somebody brought up was the DeMar Hamlin issue. And with DeMar Hamlin, if you can remember the young guy that got hurt on the football field, a regular play. It was not a big hit. It was nothing like that, but he went under cardiac arrest. Thank God that the Cincinnati Bengals and their medical staff and the people that were around were able to save the young man and give him hopefully a normal, productive life. But if you recall, Skip Bayless had he put out a tweet basically about, can we get back to football? And a lot of people, including myself, thought it was very insensitive. And so him coming out with this very insensitive tweet regarding a young man who could have died on the field, there was no way those guys could come back and play football that night or play that game for that matter. And so it didn't seem to matter because we know ultimately the Cincinnati Bengals were better than the Bills, and they went into Buffalo and got it done. But what we did see from that is another fallout because Shannon Sharpe was not on the show that day, and when he came back, Skip was defiant. He was still defending himself, like, "Hey, they didn't have a problem with it," and the upper echelon or even Shannon Sharpe did have a problem with it. You clearly could see, and they had another explosive outing with each other, which makes for great TV, but it begged the question of how long. How long were they going to stay together? And we now see we've reached the end of the road like a Boyz II Men song. And I don't think they're going to be singing "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday" in this scenario. Shannon is bigger now than he ever was when he played professional football. And keep in mind, he is arguably one of the top 4 tight ends that ever played the game. Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez, Shannon Sharpe, and Travis Kelce. Somebody said of Antonio Gates, Travis Kelce. That's your 4 best tight ends that ever played football currently right now. You can go down the rest of them, but those are the 4. Shannon Sharpe was that good as a football player, becoming as either an undrafted or a very, very, very late round draft pick out of Savannah State, and just outworked people and showed that there was no issue with him in terms of his work ethic. He showed it on Fox as well. Shannon was always there. You didn't see him miss a lot of days. He was always ready for action, ready to play, and ready to face off with Skip. And now Shannon is going somewhere. He's going to be a very hot commodity. I think his club Shay has actually done a lot of work for him, and I think that's probably prepared Shannon to exit from Skip because maybe he feels like he can be more comfortable. He can do it on his own. And sometimes it's better to be on your own, and that's just something that I've kind of learned because you don't have to rely on people not performing or not doing what they need to, what you would hope for them to do. You find that out in a lot of ways. And so we'll see what happens, and we'll see what that leads to with Shannon Sharpe. I did want to play another video that I saw, and it was talking about I think it was Chris Broussard and Rob Parker. They were discussing the issue with Shannon and Skip on their show, The Odd Couple. So this is fair use. So I want to play this video for you with Rob Parker and Chris Broussard, who did a pretty good job talking about it as well. Check this out.
Even undisputed. I think it's a big loss for FS1. I thought they had, at least gotten to a point where Skip and Shannon could coexist. They were still doing the show great. And but apparently they are not going to go on.
I remember the moment because I saw it.
Yeah.
And the moment that Skip said to Shannon that he was jealous of Tom Brady, he was criticizing Tom Brady's play. And Skip basically said that the criticism wasn't valid, and the only reason you're criticizing Tom Brady is because you're jealous of him. I at that moment, Chris, I said that those two just got separated. Like I did. Like at that moment, you remember, you know what I'm talking about. Am I right? That was a moment.
I totally. And during that show, if you remember, Shannon took off his glasses.
Yep. And Skip said, don't take your glasses off.
Or put your glasses
Put your glasses back on. That's what he said.
And a lot of people didn't like that. And Shannon put them on. I don't think he should have. I would have just kept them bad boys off for the rest of the show. Shannon would.
So when you think about, Chris goes on to say that Shannon was tremendous, and Shannon was, whether you like some of his takes, I personally enjoyed a lot of what Shannon did early on. I think that he became too much of a fanboy, and I know him and Kwame Brown kind of went back and forth, and that might have been the final straw even for FS1. We don't know, because Shannon, is very quick to run to the aid of LeBron James for anything. And it was like he didn't need to be defended. Kwame Brown had a take that he believed that LeBron should have gotten to a spot. If you're that guy, which LeBron has been that guy, let's be honest. He is an all-time top 5 player of all time. He is not number 1. And I don't even think it's debatable. I think the debate is whether he's 2, 3, or 4. And that's not hate. That's just, I've watched enough basketball. I've been around the game. I've seen the game. I've had people who coach the game. I've had people who've been around them. And I've enjoyed basketball even since I was a little kid, watching, Magic Johnson go against Larry Bird in that epic college game. And I saw them play in the finals. And so I've watched skillful people like Bird and Magic, and then Michael was the apex of the NBA and its popularity. And you can see that in the numbers, by the way. So Michael Jordan in that finals against Utah is still the highest rated finals, game 6 of all time. And the recent finals with LeBron and the other folks, they've gone down tremendously over the years. The final ratings are, and I would not be surprised that these ratings will not be that great either, because you're not talking about two teams that the fan base are like enamored with necessarily, other than their local supporters or some of the folks that support the Heat, who a little bit better because they've been there. This is their 7th time in the finals, but not the same. And so that's where some of the issues comes in with Shannon is he becomes less Shannon because he becomes too much of a caricature and too much supporting LeBron James when, come on, man, it's not that serious. And he's not what you're trying to convince everybody he is. And proof of the pudding, by the way, is when he does these interviews on Club Shay Shay and he brings guys on to talk about who the greatest players are of all time, or who the greatest player is, and they resoundingly tell him it's Michael Jordan, and he just has to kind of sit there and take it. Like, oh, well, you mean because that's what it is. So when you get past all the numbers, I can go over the numbers in another show, but that's where my issue came in with Shannon Sharpe. And I would almost want to call him Shannon Not So Sharpe, because he was doing some of those fandom. He also did some things with Kyrie I didn't necessarily like as well, but that's neither here nor there. But I do think that it was time for them to break up and separate themselves. I think Skip Bayless is the type of guy that you just can't be around him that long. I just think that, it just got to run its course. I think that he has a certain type of personality that just after a while you got to, it's just, all right, this is it, man. I can't deal with that dude no more. So I think that's what's happened, with Shannon, and he's got to go. So you got to go. I'll be curious to see where he goes. Is he going to go to ESPN? Is he going to go to is he going to just try to enhance the Club Shay Shay brand? Because I know that Fox put money behind that podcast. So I don't know if he owns that outright or not, but we own Sports Bucks. So so we don't have to go anywhere. But I would be curious to see what happens with that. So here's what I do want to talk about a little bit about Scottie Pippen as I kind of play you guys. Just one of our little sponsors as we sit here. We got to make sure we add our sponsors to the table. Here's one of our sponsors to pay attention to. They also have a fully insured product, by the way, and it's My Virtual Doc. So check them out real quick.
Are you looking for an affordable yet exceptional virtual healthcare solution for your workforce? Have you been thinking of a way to attract and keep a good team of employees? Well, your solution is here with My Virtual Docs. From virtual primary, urgent, and mental health care, a free and low-cost medicine formulary, and even pet care, My Virtual Docs has got everyone in the household covered. My Virtual Docs allows employers to provide employees and their families with convenient access to the care they need, on demand without having to miss valuable work time. Our strong network of providers and pharmacies means patients have unlimited access to their providers virtually with no copay, anywhere they can get online and have their medicines delivered right to their doorstep. By simply logging into their portal, patients can make appointments, visit with doctors, fill prescriptions, and more. And it keeps getting better. With the use of our smart app, Burn, your employees will be inspired to earn dollars while they burn calories. Who wouldn't want to get paid to go for a walk? Here at My Virtual Docs, we're committed to helping employers help employees and their families achieve optimal health and wellness with exceptional care at an affordable price. Visit myvirtualdocs.com for more details.
Docs, one of our partners in this thing we enjoy, and so as we proceed to give you what you need, we talk about a little bit about. I want to do a little bit about the Scottie Pippen is tripping. Scottie Pippen is tripping, and his take about the great Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And first of all, I want to play you a little bit of the video that ESPN had that came out after the Last Dance, where Pippen was revealed to be, not the greatest teammate in terms of his reaction with playing or his idea or his mindset when it comes to Michael Jordan. So I want to play you this video, and you guys kind of check it out and see what you think about it. But I thought this was important, a video that kind of sets up what we saw take place about his comment regarding Michael Jordan being a horrible player. We're going to give you some stats. That's what we do. We're going to give you some statistics that doesn't support Scottie Pippen's claim. Check this out.
Sending if he tried. Each episode was the same. Michael on a pedestal. His teammates secondary, smaller. The message no different from when he referred to us back then as his supporting cast. From one season to the next, we received little or no credit whenever we won, but the bulk of the criticism when we lost. Michael Jordan would never have been Jordan without me, Horace Grant, Tony Kukoc, John Paxson, Steve Kerr, Dennis Rodman, Bill Cartwright, Ron Harper, BJ Armstrong, Luke Longley, Will Perdue, Bill Wennington, and I apologize to anyone we've left out. I now want to bring in NBA insider Brian Windhorst this morning. Windy, thank you so much for being with us. And I will get to you in just a minute. Stephen A., I'm going to start with you. Is Scottie Pippen justified in these remarks?
No. I think he went over the line. Wendy, you know me. It's good to see you, my brother. Keep up the great work. I've been on the phone a lot last night and certainly over the last few months. A few months ago, I haven't spoken to Scottie Pippen in a few months, but I spoke to Scottie Pippen once Last Dance was on the air. I'm aware of his feelings. Obviously, I've spoken to Michael Jordan on numerous occasions, including last night. Guys like Isaiah Thomas is relevant in this conversation as well, along with various others. Let me be very, very clear. Scottie Pippen should be ashamed of himself. Now, I'm not going to crucify Scottie because obviously he's in a different place mentally. And there must be a lot going on. And my heart goes out to him because this is clearly an underappreciated, or at least a person who feels he is underappreciated. Just in case you feel underappreciated, Scottie Pippen, let me remind you that the world recognizes you as one of the top 50 players in NBA history, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, a six-time champion. The entire decade of the 90s, the man was first-team all-defensive NBA, for crying out loud. The brother, him guarding Magic Johnson is what delivered the NBA championship for the first time to the Chicago Bulls. We all know the greatness of
He didn't do it by
Pippen.
himself. That's actually not
Michael
true.
Jordan also knows that greatness,
off.
which is why Michael Jordan's on the record saying he's the greatest teammate that he ever had. So here we are nearly 30 years later, and this is what you do. It seems like Scottie Pippen is blaming Michael Jordan for what has ailed him. So let's go back in history.
because we need to correct the record. And if I sound like I am coming to the defense of Michael Jordan, you damn right I am. You damn right, because he deserves to be defended in this regard. Scottie Pippen comes into the NBA in 1987. Scottie Pippen keeps bringing up how Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan because of us. Well, he was a champion because of y'all. And if he didn't win championships, clearly that would have been bad for his legacy, no doubt. But Wendy, do I need to remind anybody, and please let me see Wendy when I'm talking to her, do I need to remind anybody of who the hell Michael Jordan was before Scottie Pippen ever arrived? We're talking Michael Jordan. We're talking about the NBA, who was promoting Magic and Bird and said, well, wait a minute, pause. Even while the bad boy Detroit Pistons was interrupting the proceedings by winning back-to-back titles and going to 3 straight NBA finals, they said, pause. This dude right here is going to take our league to another stratosphere. This is when Michael Jordan was getting bounced out in the first round. That's how great he was to the human eye. So to act like, oh my goodness, we helped him win, and that's what made Michael Jordan. No, it actually made y'all. That's number one. Number two, Scottie Pippen. We love you, bro, but there's no way to get around certain things. Number one, in 88, 89, if I remember correctly, Wendy, you got the migraine. Why did I bring up the migraine? Why did I bring up Isaiah Thomas? Because when the Jordan rules were implemented by Chuck Daly and the Detroit Pistons, they were called the Jordan rules. But ask Isaiah Thomas, who I also spoke to this morning, and by the way, who respects Scottie, even though Scottie told me personally, he wouldn't spit on Isaiah Thomas's grave if he wouldn't spit on Thomas if he was on fire. That's what he said months ago. That's what he said. Okay, he can't stand Isaiah Thomas. Okay, but Isaiah Thomas implemented the Jordan rules. Wendy, you know this. I'm sorry, Detroit Pistons implemented the Jordan rules. The Jordan rules wasn't just for Jordan. They were also for Scottie, because they said screens, back picks, and other things. If you put Scottie Pippen through that, mentally, we believed we could take him out. And even though the migraine was real, we believed that's what caused the migraine. Okay? So then they win the first championship in 91. Jerry Reinsdorf is the owner of the Chicago Bulls. He tells Scottie Pippen, do not sign this 5-year, $18 million deal. I'm telling you right now, you'll be worth more in a year or two, because I do not renegotiate in the middle of contracts. If you sign this deal, you're going to have to stick with it. Scottie Pippen, reflecting on his dad, God rest his soul, that was in a wheelchair, his brother who was in a wheelchair, remembering Darryl Stingley, who was paralyzed in New England Patriots by the late Jack Tatum on that hit in preseason from the Oakland Raiders to Darryl Stingley of the New England Patriots. Scottie Pippen remembered all of that and said, yo, I got to take this money now. Even though Reinsdorf personally told him, you're going to regret it, he still signed that deal. That's not Jordan's fault. And then, by the way, last but not least, did y'all know that on the basketball court, we ain't talking marketing, we ain't talking promotions, Wendy, on the basketball court, did you know that Scottie Pippen made more money than Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan never made more than $4 million a year for the first 11 years of his career. The last 2 years, he signed a $30 and a $33 million deal. And all the teams signed off on him getting that money because of what he meant to the league. Michael Jordan made $97 million in his career. Scottie Pippen made $107 million because he got 67.2 from Houston, ultimately moved to Portland, and he made the other money with the 30% of his salary with the Chicago Bulls. That's not Jordan's fault. And so when you look at all of those things that we bring into the equation, here you are nearly 3 decades later, and you're going to call this brother out because of the decisions that you made? Thanks for watching.
The decision that you made is the key word that Stephen A. Smith brought up. The decisions that you made, Scottie Pippen. Now, I played that video on purpose because that was something that happened after The Last Dance, which Pippen hasn't answered any of these questions of, is any of this stuff not true? See, that's the problem that I have with people, is that you can be upset with somebody. You ever have talked to somebody and they did something wrong to you and you get mad at them? Now they mad at you instead of them fixing it. Like, you tripping. And when I say tripping, if you folks don't understand that, that's a vernacular that we use in the urban communities here in America. that talks about when somebody's being silly and being stupid. Like you tripping. That's why this show is Pippen is tripping, because nothing about what he said is accurate. Now, there are some LeBron fans, and LeBron James, by the way, again, I'll say this again, he's one of the top 5, 6 players ever of all time. He's just not the greatest of all time. I don't even think he's second, but that's another story for another day. He's a fantastic, great player, but they use this pushing up of Pippen to prop up Pippen to try to tear down people like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant in particular. And this comment, I've seen people like and say that Jordan was a bad player, which is just absolutely silly. And I'm going to give you the stats before we get out of here of why that's silly. Let me play you the video where Pippen actually says this so you can hear it if you haven't had a chance to hear it, about what he's saying, what he said about Pippen making the comment about Michael Jordan. Listen to this. Fair use.
When we start winning, everybody forgot who he was.
Okay. Let's take a listen.
I seen Michael Jordan play before I came to play with the Bulls. You guys seen him play. He's a horrible player. He was horrible to play with.
What?
He was all one-on-one. He's shooting bad shots. And all of a sudden, we become a team and we start winning. Everybody forgot who he was.
Okay.
So I just wanted to play that little bit of a sample of what Scottie Pippen said so you could get the most ridiculous thing I've heard in a long time. I know Pippen, there's some stuff going on with Scottie Pippen. Obviously, everybody knows about Larson Pippen, his ex-wife, is dating Michael Jordan's son. So we do know that is actually taking place. That's not a rumor. Marcus Jordan, Michael's, I believe it's his younger son, I believe, or maybe Marcus is the older. I always forget which one, but he's dating Larsa Pippen. I don't really even understand. I don't know how she's doing that, knowing that that's Michael Jordan's son and Pippen is having some issues with Jordan, but that's neither here nor there. That's, people doing whatever they want. But let's get to some stats before we get out of here. Because Scottie Pippen said that Michael Jordan was a horrible player. And the LeBron's fans will say, yeah, see, he was just a gun and he was just shooting, taking bad shots. Okay, if a person takes bad shots, they don't shoot 50% from the field. If they're taking bad shots and making half of them, it's not a bad shot. Hello, is this mic on? It's not a bad shot. So let's take a look at Michael Jordan's first 4 seasons. Pippen comes in on the 4th. First season, Michael Jordan was first. In his first season, he was all NBA second team as a rookie. And by the way, his rookie numbers are better than Scottie Pippen's best career numbers. 28.2 points a game for Michael Jordan, 6.5 rebounds, 5.9 assists, 2.4 steals, shooting 51.5%, and was the rookie of the year. Pippen's best year was 22 a game, 8.7 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 2.9 steals, shooting 49.1%. By the way, Michael Jordan's rookie year, he finished 6th in MVP. In his second season, Michael Jordan missed 64 games due to injury. He injured his foot. He scored 49 points against the great Boston Celtics team, which happens to be one of the top 5 teams of all time, that had 5 Hall of Famers against Michael Jordan in his second year, not even a full second year. He scored a steal record, 63 points in the playoffs. Remember, he shot 51.5% as a shooting guard. This is another thing, just a real sidebar. If someone tells me that LeBron James is a better shooter than Michael Jordan because he had a higher field goal percentage, that's the same thing as somebody telling me that DeAndre Jordan is a better shooter than Devin Booker because he shoots 60-something% from the field. He's shooting closer to the basket. So when you shoot closer to the basket, your percentage should be higher. Michael Jordan was a better mid-range shooter than LeBron, and the three-point line was something that he started shooting later on. But he had 6, if you guys remember, in the finals against the Portland Trail Blazers when he kept making all those threes. And he shrugs his shoulder to Magic Johnson because he was cooking Clyde Drexler. And yes, he took that personally. Okay. In the third season, Michael Jordan averaged 37.1 points per game. 37. He was all NBA first team, and he finished second in MVP. But he was a horrible player. He finished second in MVP, and he was a horrible player, according to Scottie Pippen, who is tripping. In his fourth season, when Scottie Pippen joined the Bulls, and all of a sudden he started making Michael Jordan a better player, Scottie Pippen averaged a whopping 7.8 points a game by coming off the bench. Michael, by the way, that year, when he was such a horrible player, scored 35 points a game, the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year that same season. So when you look at this horrible player, Michael Jordan, from 84 to 87, before Pippen joined him, or when Pippen was a part of the team, he averaged a combined 31.7 points per game, 5.6 rebounds a game, over 5 assists, shot 49.3% from the field as a 2-guard, shooting. He was a 3-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, All-NBA first team, scoring champion, dunk contest champion. Not to mention he was a champion in college, an Olympic gold medalist, when the amateurs could actually beat the European and other nations in basketball without adding the pros, playing against professionals, by the way. This is Michael Jordan, his rookie year. So let's get to Scottie Pippen as we get ready to get out of here. Scottie Pippen was a great player, but he developed to become a greater player. These are Scottie Pippen's numbers in 1993 to 1994 and 1998 to 2004. Scottie Pippen averaged a 12.5 points a game, 4.8 assists per game, 5.6 rebounds. He was a one-time All-Star in 1994. He was the All-Star MVP that same season. First team All-NBA once. And first team All-Defense first team in 1999. So I guess Scottie Pippen helped carry Michael Jordan, right? So this is the reason why people say stuff and don't make sense. Also, let's go over real quickly because people will say that Michael Jordan couldn't win without Pippen. I just told you Scottie Pippen averaged basically 8 points a game and then 12 before he started scoring a little bit more. Michael Jordan has never had a guy like Anthony Davis, like Kyrie Irving, like Dwayne Wade to take the offensive load off of him. Never happened. So here's the teams that Michael Jordan had to play in his first 3 playoff series, or even when Scottie Pippen got it together. The 85 Bucks, Sidney Moncrief, Hall of Famer. Remember, LeBron fans like to bring up the defensive players now, first team, so we're going to go ahead and give you that then. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. 5 times All-NBA, Sidney Moncrief, out of Arkansas. Terry Cummings, the Paul Demon. 30 points per game in the series. He was a 2-time All-NBA. I believe Paul Pressey was a 3-time All-Defensive Player, first team. Mr. Ricky Pierce, 2-time Sixth Man of the Year. That's what he went up against with nobody on that roster. In 86 and 87, Hall of Fame Bird. Mikhail Paris Johnson. Bill Walton. 88. Hall of Famers, the Detroit Bad Boy Pistons. Isaiah Thomas, Adrian Dantley, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman, 4. 89 and 90. Thomas Dumars. Mark McGuire, who was a 3-time All-Star, career average of 20 points per game. By the way, Scottie Pippen's career average is 16 points a game. Stop it. Joe Dumars and Dennis Rodman. And in 95, he went up against Shaquille O'Neal, Hall of Famer, and Penny, who was a first-time All-NBA. These are Michael Jordan's playoff losses and opponents. But no, it only goes for one other person. So, this is Sports Bucks with Steve, giving you a little bit of what you want and sometimes what you need. We'll see you. Check out our show on the radio. Tell a friend, like and subscribe. We're out.